We are going to talk about the challenges faced by discharged military veterans with a focus on Vietnam veterans.
In Vietnam, soldiers lived in a humid subtropical climate with humidity averaging 84% throughout the year. In coming back to the U.S., there is an array of different climates. A drastic change would put a toll on the veterans' energy and/or health. When a soldier becomes severely injured and has to readjust their way of life, they go through what is called disability-adjusted life years, which is the reduced quality of life due to a disability. In Vietnam, there are 303,704 wounded, 153,329 hospitalized, 150,375 injured requiring no hospital care. The severely disabled was 75,000. Of those 75,000, 23,204 were 100% disabled, 5,283 lost or severely impaired limbs, 1,081 sustained multiple amputations. After being away for long periods of time, families readjust roles to function while the other family member is gone. When soldiers return home, they need to reestablish those lost bonds among family members. 61% of soldiers returning home said it was very or somewhat hard impact on relations with a spouse. From the Vietnam War, many soldiers come home with PTSD due to the warfield lifestyle. This mental change causes the veterans to be anxious and moody, which are symptoms of the neurocentrism. The post-military risk factors for development of PTSD are recent stressful life events, post-Vietnam trauma depression. On the battlefield, soldiers are supplied with all the basic necessities and do not have to supply for themselves. In civilian life, veterans have to adjust to supplying themselves with their necessities. In the military, soldiers live a very structured lifestyle. When re-entering civilian life, soldiers go through difficulties of having no structure and no duties to fulfill. 64% of soldiers found it difficult transitioning into civilian life.
Inside the military, soldiers are trained to conform to the command to create a collective group. There is often no sense of individualism within the military. They have to conform to the same attitudes and behavior. They often lose a sense of individual thinking. Outside of the military, the culture often celebrates the individual and what makes the individual unique. Everyone has a different way of thinking and different attitudes. Commands are given to a team in the military. There is a clear distinction of who is in charge, and commands given are followed or the soldier will be disciplined. Whereas outside of that culture, things are not as controlled and rules are not always followed. There is no clear chain of command outside the military, which could challenge the veteran and ultimately create conflict. While in the military, soldiers work together for a common goal. This creates a cohesion within the team. Success often depends on how well you communicate the importance of teamwork. In the military, soldiers work together because lives may be at stake. This means learning to rely on each other. When a soldier leaves the military, most jobs are commonly individual work, require individuals to work on their own. This can cause a soldier to withdraw from work. It can be difficult for a soldier to adjust to not having that cohesion among his associates. Many soldiers in the military do not seek medical treatment. 65% of them fear the perception of being seen as weak. 63% fear leadership might treat them differently. 59% fear others would have less confidence in them. Because of the fear of these perceptions, it can cause soldiers to not seek treatment for medical issues. Compared to the outside culture, seeking treatment is seen as socially acceptable.
Veterans get used to the rough terrain experienced in a combat zone rather than the more paced driving in an area outside the military zone. In comparison to a military-grade vehicle, a normal class vehicle may not allow them to realize how they drive and could pose as a danger on the road. A veteran can cause an accident or be seen as dangerous if they drive in the same way they do for the military. These differences could then correlate to reckless driving, road rage, and other traffic infractions. Veterans are trained at a very high level in the military and use their tactical skills every moment when in the field. The skills they learn train them with the battle mindset to sustain survival while in a combat zone. When having to conform to regular society again, they bring their tactical skills with them, affecting how they handle different events and situations, both good and bad. The veteran could show inappropriate aggression when they feel threatened. Veterans are trained to control their emotions in a combative zone, both being emotional and ethical self-control that do not directly serve survival. This causes them to then begin to shut down the more positive emotions they have, including humor, sweetness, and sympathy, etc. In society or with family, the veteran can then be seen as detached or uncaring in different situations. Examples include that they could show no emotions when at a funeral of a loved one or less intimacy with their spouse.
There are many resources that are available for military veterans. The Vietnam Veterans of America Association was founded in 1983 and is a national nonprofit corporation committed to serving the needs of all veterans. Their motto is "Never again will one generation of veterans abandon another," and they aim to help all vets. They publish the Viet Vets Survival Guide and is a handbook for Vietnam veterans that encompasses valuable information on pension rights, compensation, medical services, education, and rehabilitation, and many other relief, readjustment, and reinforcement services. The Vietnam Veterans Association provides a variety of services including veteran health care, veterans incarcerated, PTSD and substance abuse services, homeless veterans, the VVA Education Program, and the VVA Women's Veterans Program. There are also other organizations that provide services and programs such as the American Legion, Veterans of Foreign Wars, Disabled Veterans of America, and the Veterans Support Foundation. One of the primary services is veteran health care. They seek to improve healthcare for veterans, provide information about health issues and benefits, and they also educate healthcare communities about the multiple health issues associated with military service. They develop materials on veterans' health issues for medical schools, nursing schools, teaching hospitals, and related educational outlets, and advocate on behalf of veterans' healthcare initiatives. Among healthcare services, there's also a plethora of PTSD and substance abuse programs. PTSD programs are dedicated to providing support for veterans and their families and advocates for the necessary health care to treat PTSD, including diagnoses, research, specialized programs, and educational efforts. The Vietnam Veterans Association substance abuse programs advocate for the mental health care needed to treat substance abuse and recognize the continued need for these services of many veterans.